not working, it makes me so happy. Like, it makes my heart get very happy. So every time when I'm working, and then I only do work for like one film for one day, I usually get a little bit sad because I want to work some more. He's making a lot of trouble in this movie, so I usually need to teach him his stuff to be good. Well, Sydney is like very sweet and kind. And then every time I see her, I usually hug her before she's about to eat. I want to give her some good luck for her food. And then when I usually work with her, she makes me very happy.
The original Lilo and Stitch is an extremely unusual film. It's a very, very personal film. I came up with the idea, I pitched the concept to Tom Schumacher, the head of feature animation, and he said yes to the idea. On the condition that it looked like I drew it. Because to pitch the project, I made basically a children's book. It was an illustrated pitch. And my concern at the time, there were a lot of alien movies that were coming out. And I wanted people to see the alien in my film the right way, because he was a very unusual creature. So I thought, I'll illustrate the pitch. If they don't like it, I'll know they didn't like my pitch and they weren't seeing something else in their heads. So when Tom said, I will make this movie on one condition, that it looked like you drew it, he was saying that because of the pitch book that I'd created. So I ended up voicing the character, designing the characters, writing the script with Dean DeBlois, my co-director, and pitching the project. So it is an unusually personal project. It's really gratifying, and it's still exciting when I see him show up. I can't go out of the house without seeing Stitch somewhere. It might be on somebody's shoes. It might be like, on their backpack or something like that. And I could not have ever predicted that Stitch would be embraced by people the way he has. People love him. And to such a degree that I've actually had to go back and think about it and reflect on, like, why in the world did he endure so completely? Why did he really just, he penetrated the zeitgeist in a way that I never ever could have predicted or planned for. I was really appreciative that Dean reached out to me. I got a random, I think it was maybe an email that was an introduction from Dean. It's, I'm Dean and I'm working on this film that you are very familiar with. And he's like, can I give you a phone call and chat with you about it? And that was my first contact. And we talked on the phone for, I think it was, intended to be like maybe a 5-minute phone call. And it turned into about a 2-hour phone call. And just really, I really enjoyed talking to Dean. I think we have, similar, vibes with things. And not everybody's that easy to talk to all the time, but I really had a great time talking to Dean. And I think we actually ended the conversation because the battery on my phone died, or we might be still talking today. So that was really wonderful that he reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in reprising my voice role on the film. And I said, absolutely. Coming back in, I'm always nervous about the endurance of my voice during recording sessions. Typically after about 2 hours, his voice begins to just dip off a little bit. It's not the easiest thing to sustain. Our sessions on this film have been about 4 hours apiece. And one of the things I think I've developed more stamina because of my recording sessions. That was my main thing. Obviously I like the characters, I like the setting. And so anytime I can be in the proximity of the property, it's just really fun. Could we redeem a villain? Do they always have to be done in at the end? What if a villain who was extremely powerful changed? What if he switched sides and all that phenomenal power and belief in a goal was directed towards something good? And that's really at the base of everything. That's what Stitch is. He possesses qualities of good and bad. He's mischief. He makes mistakes. He's fallible as we are. And I think that's why people really have seen themselves in him and him in them.
She's basically a single mom at this point in time, and she's 18. She's just starting to get into trying to get the groove with, you know, not only being a new adult, but having lost her parents, trying to deal with the grief, and also raising LILO, who's a 6-year-old, and keeping the spirit alive like it never happened. And so she's hot-headed, she is type A, she's a go-getter, and nothing's gonna stop her from, you know, what goes on. And obviously a lot happens throughout the movie. You can never really match the original in that way, which I think is so very beautiful about this one, is that we take the original and we make it reality and we make it real. And I took a lot of the nuances of Nani's sass and her ultimate feminism and warrior status and sometimes hot-headedness, impulsiveness, and we brought it to the real life situations. And I think, like, I talked to Tia about this, and we tried to incorporate some of the Tita slangs and different things like that, where we got a little bit like hot-headed and stuff. And then other times I realized this is just a little bit more sensitive for the moment, because again, like, she's going through such a hard time. And then I finally came to Oahu to do chem tests, and Maia was one of the little ones that I got to work with and read with. And instantly, she was just this little spunky, adorable child that she was so friendly and open to wanting to just imagine and create in the room. And I think we had, like, at some point in time, we had like a little bit of a break. And so we were set up like it was the LILO's bedroom. And so we were on a bedroom, or on the bed, and there was an ukulele there. And one of the scenes that we were doing was the hammock scene. And so we just started playing around with the ukulele, and we started singing Aloha Oi together. And then I think, like, I don't know if I was just being silly and was, you know, going off key and different things like that, or we were trying to harmonize, but there was like an instant sense of like trust and sisterhood and love. And I think, like, they could see it because we felt it. First off, he's coming from an A24 project. He built his own project with Marcel Deschelles and put so much love and time because it was his own passion project. And then seeing how he was able to incorporate animated life with real life and bring it so humbly back to earth, I knew especially that we were in the right hands with Lilo and Stitch, because it's so important not to lose that, you know? Because there's a magic to it, and there's a heart in it. And I think that Dean is so very open to exploring the world and life and love and family and reality, that it's been so fun to explore that with him and try new things and learn so much more about Lilo and Stitch. It's a huge, I think, moment for people to feel like no matter where they are, they can feel accepted and find a place of home. And I think that they'll cry, they'll laugh their heads off, they'll look at how wacky and fun this project was and see how much heart and soul and work that everybody has put into this to make such a beautiful piece of art.
He is not a social worker at all, but that's his undercover that he is gradually learning that he is undercover, so it's a little tricky for him. And he forgets at times that he has a dual role here in order to achieve his goals. But he is a top drawer operative, security, and he always gets his person, man or woman or thing. I know that he is a director that is very, very focused on whatever he does. He's 200% in. And he sees things that sometimes we don't see, and he's very, very well prepared.
I think what's fun for me personally is to play someone villainous or a creature that's villainous. I don't think I've really done any of that, and it's kind of fun just to act with your menacing face. And Jumba, to me in the animated thing, he was not almost. This one I think is more villainous to me because he takes the human form. I think he's going to maybe be seen as a little bit more villainous. The second day I saw Maia, she greeted me and goes, "Hello, dummy," and I thought, I really like this kid. You with child actors, you have to, it's always kind of, for me as an adult actor, you want to be protective of them, but with Maia, like, she has such good people around her. At 6, what emotional range do you have to even if you have the emotional range, whether you can tap into it or not, and it takes a special person to be able to recall, especially at that age, to be able to kind of bring those feelings to the forefront. Well, Billy's like a Broadway actor, and as a stand-up comic, I get a little intimidated with legitimate actors, but it's been a pleasure to work with him. Really, really enthusiastic guy. I've known Dean for a long time, and he asked me to be in the movie. Hawaii plus Dean equals no-brainer. So I have a lot of faith in Dean. He knows what he's doing. He also, I used to work with him. I knew him as an editor also, and he's a very good editor. And that's kind of the thing that most directors are. They're already good editors. So it's been a joy. It really has been fun. The exciting thing is the live action part. Now, the animated part will be top dollar, top notch. I know that. I can tell that already. I think having said that, I think the animation and the morphing of these human characters into the animation makes for a different type of story in a weird way. And I think the audiences will like the aspect of it being brought to the human form.
There is this concept of chosen family, right? It's this term used in discourse and saying that you have your biological family, and then you have family that you choose to be a part of, and they choose to be a part of you. And I think in this particular movie and this particular family, we talk about aloha being unconditional. It's love is something that is not transactional. It's there, and you can accept it. You don't always have to give it unless you don't feel like it. But it's the understanding, especially in Ohana, that there's an understanding that we give love and we receive love at the same time too, right? And in our relationships, David, Tūtū, Nani, LILO, unconditionally we hold that space of aloha with each other. And we don't ask for anything. We don't expect anything. And I think that also holds as a reflection of Hawaii people in general, saying that dopiness as not as being dumb. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of the times people might mistake David of being dumb in a sense. He just has this like overly positive attitude, which I think people might abuse and misinterpret, right? As opposed to Nani, when I think about her character, it's loving, but it's loving internally, right? Or it's a very focused kind of loving, and this idea of protectorship is very internal. And that's where I think our characters sometimes may clash, but they don't clash, right? They're very symbiotic with each other. I also have this idea that like Nani is like the ocean, the raging ocean. Sometimes it's serene. At least in the beginning of the movie, it's very turbulent and very tumultuous, right? And then David is the aina. It's the land that the ocean leans upon. The first time I met her, it was kind of like seeing LILO like in real life, because she really does embody the character very well. And even like working in front of the screen, it just comes out of her naturally. It's amazing that a 6-year-old could have so much focus and can take a lot of direction so quickly too. It's a timeless story, and it's transgenerational, right? There's something for every age group. for every person around this world that they can connect to. That never changes, right? But in terms of having the realistic aspect of seeing Hawaii, of seeing the waves, of seeing the characters in real life, I hope everyone can feel how authentic this story is.
Going back to the film, the animation, seeing that again reminded me of how much I loved this script and how my character sort of expands on Ohana. It's not just the family, it's now the extended family, and I'm part of that extended family. I'm not blood related to them. I live next door. I knew the parents. I knew the kids since they were little, and I just feel so close to them, and it just is, of course, a natural progression to feel like I want to take care of them, and also be a little nosy about things, because isn't that what family is? Maia is remarkable. I don't know if the gods were shining upon us when we found her. She is LILO. And she's a wonderful little actor. She's very responsive to direction, very flexible, very always upbeat, and very professional. Because she's never really, I don't think she's done this before. So to be that professional, just inherently, and her family is such a strong core to her environment. So that I find really important, that if you have a really strong family structure and you feel safe, that's important to a little child. He's an incredible collaborator. He listens to what we have, our input, listens to it, goes with it, sometimes goes, he's really fun. And again, I would think he would be exhausted because we're working in really difficult conditions and we have a lot of technical aspects to this. And he's just so positive and focused and fun. I adore him. So that's another gift. Dean's a gift. And you can see by the work that he's done before that he really has a great heart and he understands the heart of this film. I feel like we need to try to separate. We can't replicate animation into live action. We take the animation as an inspiration to see if we can go deeper with the live action. And I think that's what we're doing here. We're going deeper, we're expanding it more. And I think people will, if they don't try to see a replication, they will experience something very profound and fulfilling and satisfying.
To be in a film like Lilo and Stitch, so close to my heart, and to do it in my hometown, is just everything. It just makes me so happy to be here right now to represent my upbringing and everything I love about the islands. And it's quite something to have been a part of the original film, the animated feature, 21 years ago. How is that even possible? When I heard that they were going to be doing Lilo and Stitch, I thought, I have to be a part of this, just for the legacy and the curiosity of seeing how they're going to translate such a much beloved animated feature into a live action world. So I am playing a completely different character. Mrs. Kekoa is a social worker, works for social services. She is trying to steer Nani in the right direction, give her helpful hints, and hold her accountable when she's screwing up, because otherwise Cobra Bubbles and the system is going to take Lilo away from her. So back in the day, I would be like, Lilo, you Lolo, do you want social services to take her away? But this time I am the bad guy in a way. But the way I look at Mrs. Keikoa is that she's not a bad guy. She's not, holding her feet to the fire. She's holding her accountable because she knows that these are the skills that she needs to have within her to move forward in her life. Maia has not become Lilo. Maia is Lilo. She has that fire within her. When you just meet her, without any direction, they have looked far and wide for the character of Lilo. And so to find somebody like Maia, she's truly a gift because she is the character. In the new live version, you're going to be finding some new characters like myself, role that you've never seen before, which will be great because the people that have seen the original animated feature 15 times with their kids or when they were kids will be heartened to see somebody like me that was in the original in a different capacity, but I'm playing a totally different role. Jason Scott Lee, I don't know if I can say that, but he's got a super little Easter egg in here. You'll recognize some of the places, like the house that was built is so perfectly on point with what you imagine from the cartoon. And the surf scenes, all very, very familiar, but brought into, the practical world. So there's going to be a lot of nostalgia and remembrances of the original, but also with a nod towards where we are today.
I try to come to each character from a place of love, and I think Pleakley has finally got the opportunity to get off his planet and explore something he's been passionate about. He wished upon a star, and now he gets to live that life. Even though he's on the quote unquote bad side, he still is so grateful to be out here, experiencing his wildest dreams. The thing he's always dreamed to do was come to Earth. Working in Hawaii, I mean, I would love to make this my area code. This place is absolutely magical. I mean, from the local community to the customs to the nature of it all, the food, it really is a little slice of heaven here on Earth. And I mean, you can't beat the weather, the surf. It's a healthy lifestyle. To be able to jump in the ocean in the morning and then go to work and then come home and jump back in the ocean is it's honestly a treat. Working with Zach is a delight, absolute delight. I have actually a photo of him. It's one of our, we were wrapping a week up a few months back, and he had just a rainbow shirt on, and behind him there was a rainbow, and he had the biggest smug face on the whole time. And I have this photo of Zach. But yeah, he's a true artist where he collaborates. He's here for the project, enough for himself, and I think that's one of the most important things. She's a sweetheart, and it's lovely to watch her work, and she's always ready to play, and I think that's a key part to nailing the character of Lilo.
First of all, the animated film is a classic, and I was blown away when I first saw it. It didn't look like other Disney movies at the time, and it still is pretty unusual for a animated Disney movie. It's not, there's no princesses. It takes place in a contemporary setting in Hawaii. Most of the characters are just normal humans going about and striving for happiness. And so I felt like that made it a really perfect film to try to make a live action adaptation, because there's so much more opportunity in terms of digging into the emotional realities of those human characters and grounding it in a lived experience. I think people love him because he's so unapologetically himself. He really can't help himself. And I think that people love him because it's recognizable. It's in all of us to, even when we want to do the right thing, to just spill out and mess it all up. I think that Maia embodies Lilo in a bunch of different ways. She really learned how to channel her imagination through the tools at an actor's disposal, and she, over the course of our film, I think went from being a very charming kid and very precocious and smart to being honestly one of the better actors I've ever worked with. And there's a number of times where I was blown away by her performance, which was not something that we had rehearsed or worked on. It was something she brought to the role, totally separate from me, which you really don't see with a lot of child actors. Having Chris Sanders back was a dream come true. He's been so generous with not just his voice, but his time and his mind in kind of guiding us and telling us when we were off track, and making himself open to advice and answering questions. But also, and so I had worked with him a little bit over the course of production and stuff, but then getting into the ADR booth and just seeing that voice come out of his face was totally surreal. I know intellectually Chris Sanders does the voice of Stitch, and I know Chris Sanders, and then my brain exploded when I saw it. And also he's so energetic as Stitch. Like, he's a pretty energetic guy, but when you let him go as Stitch, he's like totally off leash. And it was amazing just how generous he was with his energy. I think that Sydney embodies Nani in a number of really great ways. She had an energy to her in her audition, I remember, that it felt like she was clearly an older sister, which she is. I mean, she's like very good with comedic scenes, and she's kind of a natural comedic actor, but like I felt the character coming out. It's really hard to be frustrated funny. Like, it's hard because some people, when they get frustrated, they're just frustrated, and you empathize with them in that way, but like, it's not necessarily funny. And I think the Nani character like has to be both at her wit's end and hilarious and be a physical comedian. So checking all those boxes is a tall order for any actress, but I felt like Sydney really nailed it. I think it's super important to see a movie like this on the big screen. I fell in love with movies, seeing them in theaters as a kid, and I don't think there's yet any substitute for it. This movie, it has so much scale to it and so much sort of high concept. I love projects that do the high and low thing, which is part of the reason I was attracted to this, is that it has this huge high concept of an extraterrestrial landing on Earth, and there's a space opera element to it, and there's aliens, and then there's also this like very intimate, very real, grounded drama between these two sisters, and I think that there's no better way to experience both of those notes than in a theater. I think that multiple generations of Disney fans are going to love our movie. I really hope that we've delivered on the promise of what a live-action Lilo and Stitch film could be. I know, like, I am excited by that prospect, and I would have been if I wasn't involved in this. And I hope that I hope that people are really jumping for joy at it. I think we did it.
It feels very special to be able to tell a Native Hawaiian story from a Native Hawaiian perspective. That I know it's very important to a lot of people. It's certainly important to me, and that was not lost on me when writing. Wanted to do everyone justice, but it's honestly more than anything. It's just an honor to be able to work with such amazing professionals, telling this story that feels so personal to all of us. Because so many people my age and older and younger grew up with this movie because it was the first time that people said, like, wow, I, as a Native Hawaiian, was captured on screen, and it felt real, So to do that justice just felt like a beautiful honor. Dean, the director, and I always make this joke. We say, like, I think it's harder to make a great movie great again than it is just to make a great movie. I think the hardest part is just finding, being able to kind of get rid of the darlings that you love in the original movie. Because what we're really after is like the emotional kind of truth and like the emotional heart of the animated. There's so many things that you can do in animation that you just can't do in live action. And so it's going to naturally be different. So it's a matter of like kind of going through the movie and figuring out what it is that we absolutely need and what do we have to, at the end of the day, we have to stay true to. There's certain themes that are always going to be in the movie. Ohana means family. That things are broken but still good. So that kind of governed all of the decisions that we ended up making. Ohana means everything to me. I was very, very close with my family. We've actually kind of used Ohana means family, family means no one gets left behind as like a mantra for years. But what I was really excited about with this particular take on the movie was getting to explore what Ohana really is. I think in Hawaii we have this saying that Ohana is not just the people that are your family, but also the people that you choose to call family. So that's why we added the Tūtū role. Why we have more of a community in this movie that's surrounding them, because just in thinking about like what would it be for Nani and Lilo, there's no way that that the community around them, the Native Hawaiian community around them, wouldn't come to help them. So trying to infuse that into the movie and really just kind of dissecting what it really means to be Ohana. They're essentially the same person. Lilo might not be as much of an agent of chaos as Stitch is, but they both look at the world with the lens of, let's just have fun. I see this and I might not necessarily see the repercussions of it, but it looks like fun to me. I want to explore that. And they're impulsive in that way, which is great fun to watch. It's not always great for the people that are taking care of them. And so that's a process that they have to learn. Both of them, both Lilo and Stitch throughout the movie, need to kind of mature in that way while still trying to stay true to who they are and that kind of kid-like personality. We were both brought onto the project independently. So we didn't know each other at all. I had seen his movie, Marcel, absolutely loved it. Never met him and was kind of like put on a blind date with him to see if we could actually get along. Not only did we get along, we're now incredibly good friends. And I think what makes him the perfect director for this movie particularly is many things, is his experience with visual effects and specifically animation, which we saw in Marcel. I think it's the sense of humor that he brings and levity that he brings to all of his movies, while simultaneously also being incredibly heartfelt, emotional. You'll never meet somebody who is more willing to fight on behalf of the movie, on what's best for the movie, and he's open and willing to try anything. I think we now more than ever need a story about being there for your family, no matter what that looks like, whether it's big, whether it's small, broken, but still good. I hope that people can, watch this movie and be inspired in that way, because truly these characters inspire me, to want to be a better brother, to want to be a better father eventually, and that's Ohana is not necessarily just your family. It's also who you choose to call your family.
We're shooting here in Hawaii because we wanted the movie to feel authentic, because we wanted to capture this place. And one of the first things Dean said was, he's like, we've seen the tourist version on camera many, many times of Hawaii. That's it's the postcard version. And he would sort of say, I want to see what happens if you flip the postcard around, if you were looking the other direction. What does that Hawaii look like? We haven't seen that before. And I think to the people on the island, this movie was hugely important. So we have to honor that, and it's a culture that goes back for hundreds and hundreds of years. There's such deep tradition, and it's such a rich culture that you have to figure out, how do we honor that in the right way? So not only was that bringing on a screenwriter who is Hawaiian, in Chris Bright, but also our consultants, and there was an extensive consultant team on this movie too, people on the island who had different specialties too. There's people who specialize in Hawaiian language. There's people who specialize in Hawaiian culture, even Hawaiian food. How do you make sure that everything we're doing feels authentic, that it doesn't feel, again, like the tourist version of the movie? I think that's what we wanted to really avoid with this film, because it is a really special place to be making a movie. And, again, if we're going to do it in live action, let's make sure we get it right. I think really what Dean was looking for, he's like, we're not looking for an actor to play Lilo. We're looking for Lilo. We just need somebody who embodies that spirit in every way. And she would come in and she would say the funniest things, and she kept telling me I was an actor and what have I been in, and she would just sort of talk back to Dean sometimes in the casting sessions and make jokes, and like, oh, she's completely fearless, she's so fun, she's got this effervescent smile, she's really strong-willed, her mother will tell you that very quickly. But she had all of that, and we'd give her a maquette, or we'd give her a stuffy and say, just pretend this is Stitch, and she could go for 10 minutes showing him around her room, the sort of fake set we built for the auditions. And then we sort of got to that point where, like, I think it's her, and we actually sort of put her through the paces for this very long casting session, because a lot of times you do 5 or 10 minutes with an actor, and then that's sort of it for the read-through. And when we did it for 2 hours, whatever it was, she never lost focus. She never lost her energy level. She has an boundless energy. And we sort of just knew this is the person that not only creatively is right for the movie, but can actually sustain how hard it is to shoot a movie like this, which I think people forget about. Coming to work every day for a 60-plus day shoot, and shooting on almost every day, because she's in almost every scene, it's a lot. It's a lot for anyone. And again, for a 6-year-old, it's incredible what she's done on this film. So with Sydney, she actually is an older sister, and she just has this innate sisterly quality that you knew you needed in Nani. This is somebody who feels like they're wearing the weight of the world, and And Sydney, I think, has had that responsibility. She's looked after her sister at different times in her life. And the second we put her together with Maia, there was that instant chemistry. There was the sort of precociousness of Maia, and there was Sydney, who felt like, I can sort of help her. I can sort of, guide her a little bit in this journey of making this movie, and really took her under the wing exactly as Nani would have. So it just felt like a really organic relationship, and you're trying to find something that felt natural and authentic. I think that's something Dean was always looking for. And again, there's a lot actors can do, but then there's certain innate qualities that they just have to have sometimes to really feel true to the role, and Sydney had that from the get-go. Yeah, it was sort of an incredible find, because what we're looking for is somebody who is a comedy director who can really nail humor, somebody who's a dramatist who really understands actors and pathos and emotion, somebody who understands animation, someone who understands design and VFX. And suddenly we saw Marcel the Shell, and we're like, oh, here's a film that does all of that. And it was not a thing that we quite honestly thought we were going to get somebody who ticked every box, and we did indeed. He actually has an animator's background, so there's such a love and appreciation for what Dean and Chris did on the original movie. We sort of joke that our writer, Chris Bright, we had our own Dean and Chris on this movie to sort of take the mantle. But he understood so much about character design, and he gets so in there with VFX in terms of what is Stitch going to look like, because he did it with Marcel. But not only that, he put Marcel in a live action environment. That obviously is a predominantly animated movie, but it looks like it's in our world. That's kind of what we're trying to do here. But more than anything, he had this pitch when he first came in that was the simplest pitch ever, and he just said, jokes plus tears. And we're like, that's it. That's all we want. It's heart and humor. If you could deliver on both of those things in a movie, you sort of get the full gamut of the emotion that we're all looking for in the movie-going experience. And he did it in his film so beautifully, and he was so passionate about this title. He just felt like the perfect choice. It's going to be a little over 20 years by the time the film comes out. And it is that sort of perfect age of nostalgia for parents, and even maybe that generation a hair under parents who grew up on this film, who want to revisit it, but want to see it sort of taken seriously. And I think that was a big thing for Dean. He wants to make a movie that, this is not a quote unquote kids movie. This is a movie that is for adults. Again, we're dealing with real issues. We're dealing with this social service and the economic disparity and all these challenges thrown at these two sisters. All that's going to feel very real, and then the movie's going to be hilarious as well, and beautiful and lush here in Hawaii, and with these incredible VFX and this iconic character at the center of it. But we really talk about it's a movie for everyone. So you can capture sort of that older audience who has a nostalgia for this title, and I think really reintroduce it to a younger generation. And granted, there's parents like myself who have sort of shown their kids the movie, but kids always want something new. They want something that they feel like they can own, and this can sort of be their version of Lilo and Stitch for years and years to come.